Welcome back. So, over all the years that the channel's been a thing, there's been the debate about whether or not the hockey guy actually pays attention to advanced stats. Now, when the channel started out, I didn't really see a lot of value in a lot of the advanced stats that were out there. The one thing for me with advanced stats is I don't think they're predictive of what's going to happen in the future. And I think that's sometimes what people use it for. They'll be like, yeah, this guy's having a bad year, but if you look at the advanced stats, he's going to break through. And it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes a guy just has really bad luck. Jonas Donskoy of the Seattle Kraken being an example of a team that has a player that has bad luck. And if you go to advanced stat sites, now these numbers I pulled off moneypuck.com. So this is all readily available information. But one thing that I realized with my channel too is that a lot of times it's used as an entry point for fans. So I use your basic stats. When I'm doing a career video, I use your basic numbers, right? And that usually is what's going to get somebody into the Hall of Fame or not into the Hall of Fame. Is going to be just your goals, assists, points, maybe penalty minutes, but not usually. So when it comes to the advanced stats, I do follow it. I follow Jay Fresh on Twitter. Every time he posts a chart, I look through it. I always think it's really interesting. And I'm like, okay, cool. And sometimes it jives with what I've seen, watching the games. Sometimes I think, well, I don't know, maybe. But again, I think advanced stats have their place. And I think they can tell you something. And the reason I say this is because I know it's perceived that I pick on Philip Grubauer of the Seattle Kraken. And I'm not. And I also, when stating that I thought Jonathan Quick was having a potentially Vezina-level season, some feathers ruffled with that idea as well. But the advanced numbers, and the one that I look at the most is goals saved above expected per 60 minutes. So this is per game. And it honestly is remarkable. And then I've got the actual total number in purple on here as well. So we'll go through this. Jonathan Quick leads the league right now in goals saved above expected per 60 minutes of goaltenders who've played, I think it was 15 or more I was going with. Anybody who's played just a handful of games I didn't worry as much about. Although I think Knight might be the exception because I wanted to talk about him too. Jonathan Quick is saving an average of 0.921 goals per game above expected, meaning there's at least almost any Kings game you watch, there's a goal that should have gone in that Quick stopped. The total is 16.8 on the season. So he has done a very good job so far of making sure that the puck stays out of the net in situations where another goaltender would likely have not made that save. And again, it's hard to quantify that, right? It's like the high danger chances. All of this does kind of get to be subjective. But once you're looking at it over a full season, you could see Jonathan Quick's having an excellent season. Shesterkin, 0.874 is the number of expected goals that are being saved goals saved above expected per 60 minutes. It's right there on the board. Can I read it? No, not really. So Shesterkin 0.874, that's an impressive number 2 overall spot, and 14.9 is how many goals he saved above expected so far this year. And Jack Campbell, Toronto Maple Leafs, 787 is his average above per 60 minutes, and he saved 17.4. 17.4 goals saved above expected is the highest number in the league. So this is where it gets interesting. If you're a Leafs fan, you should love this. Because if anybody voting for Vezina looks at this number and says, wow, Campbell's had a great year, he deserves some recognition for Vezina, the number's right here to say he does. Freddie Anderson's right there with him too, 757, and the total is 15.7. So again, the numbers are very good, right? And these are the best in the game. Vasilevsky actually ranks 5th at 0.65 goals saved above expected per 60 minutes, and his total 15.8. So it does lead to perhaps somebody looking at this and going, well, Vasilevsky's had a very good year, but Campbell, Quick, and Shesterkin have been on that next level. Vasilevsky can get there. And then you look at on an individual team. So Reimer is saving 0.623 above expected per 60 minutes. His total is 9.2, whereas Aiden Hill, negative 0.365. He is allowed 5.4 goals more than expected per 60 minutes. So if you're a Sharks fan, you're likely going to look at that and say, yeah, that's about right. Reimer's having a very good season. Hill has had a kind of mediocre season overall, right? So that's accurate. Now, also, looking at Florida, there's a similar situation. Bobrovsky, goals saved above expected per 60 minutes, 0.594 for Bobrovsky, which is 10.6 goals so far this year. Whereas Spencer Knight, a negative .33, he's allowed 3.8 goals more than expected. Hellebuck, his number, .572, and his 13.4 goals he's saved above expected as well. And Hellebuck had a very good year last year with this too. Markstrom, .511, so his number's a little lower than one might expect. But again, he started the season very, very well. His numbers take a little bit of a hit here and there. The overall goals saved above expected, 10.8, is still very good. Tristan Jarry, saving .48 goals above expected per 60 minutes. A total right now is at 11.7. So it brings me over to Seattle. And again, it is just, and it's one of those things where I don't try to pick on anyone in particular. Grubauer's number last year was not great. I think he saved 4.5 goals above expected. So if you're in the advanced stats crowd, what's happened with Grubauer this year hasn't been that surprising, because in Colorado his number was below anybody else on the board who's in black on this side here, right? So Grubauer this year, he's allowing .992 goals above expected. Not saving, allowing. So it's a negative .992. He has allowed 20.5 goals that are expected to be saved. And it is the diametric opposite, it's the opposite of Quick here, who has 16.8, or Campbell has 17.4. Quick's .921, goals save above expected per 60 minutes, means that if LA's against Seattle, you've got Jonathan Quick against Grubauer, odds are you're going to see one goal go in that net for Seattle. You say, he might have wanted to save that one, and probably see a goal saved by Quick that you say, how in the living did he save that? And just to show some even coverage on this, Drieger, who's the backup, he is allowing .339 goals per 60 above what's expected. So that's a negative .339 for Drieger. He has allowed 2.1 goals above what he's expected to allow. Joey Daccord, just the one game, he allowed more goals than expected as well. For Seattle, I think it's going to be interesting to see how they get how they get this number down. Grubauer is capable of playing better than what we've seen thus far. But this is an interesting number. And again, this is one of those things that when I talk about goaltenders and I say, this guy's had a tough time, this might be what I'm talking about. I might be talking about the advanced stats part of it, which I know there are still people who don't like the advanced stats. I do tend to find some stats that I say, well, there's some subjectiveness to this. I don't know that that's not necessarily reflective of maybe a bad coaching situation. Maybe it's a bad system being employed, that kind of thing. But I like this one. This stat is kind of accurate, because when I look at the goaltenders I've been impressed by this year, a lot of them are the guys over here that are in black. And it honestly, I think, describes how well they're playing. And again, I only went with guys who are basically starters or getting a lot of games in as either a 1A, 1B, or whatever the situation may be. So it does rule out some of the guys who've had fantastic runs. Charlie Lindgren, have to say, honorable mention to Charlie Lindgren, who, if I was allowing for backups, would be near the top of this board. Absolutely ridiculous. The goals he's saving above expected so far. Small sample size for St. Louis, but it's an interesting chart to look at. So again, moneypuck.com is what I use very often. I have two bunnies down here, and I'm not sure what the problem is right now. It's not very professional. All right, so I'll pick you up so you can stop bothering your brother. But she's too worked up. Anyways, it is an interesting number for me to look at, is this goal saved above expected. But if you look through that, and again, you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. It doesn't tell you everything. Advanced stats won't tell you necessarily who should win Norris, who should win the Hart, who should win all the trophies, and even the Vezina. However, if you're Jonathan Quick, you love advanced stats right now because they say you're doing a fantastic job. Peterson's not up there. Peterson's number's not anywhere near as good as Quick's. Are you settled? She is wired. Anyways, there you go. I'd be interested to know from you guys out there how you view the advanced stats, how you use them. Again, I see them as just part and parcel. I don't use them in videos a lot because, again, I do see this channel as kind of being an entry point for a lot of hockey fans. The one recommendation I can throw out there is it doesn't hurt to learn about them and go through them and all that. Because, yeah, you know, some of them I don't think are as useful as others. But even in the advanced stats crowd, there are certain stats that they may have loved at one point Be good. And he got out. All right, now that that's dealt with. So it's a bunny channel now too, not just the hockey channel, right? You're welcome. But yeah, so Jonathan Quick, I think, has had a fantastic run. And again, I think the stats are important, are interesting. I do think it's important, and I try not to overemphasize. But again, this is kind of where things have evolved for me as a fan. Where yes, I do look through the advanced stats. I do look through the defense side of things, the guys who are getting the expected goals, the guys who aren't. So again, for Donskoy, I think right now his expected goal is 2.91, which doesn't sound like a lot, but he has 0. So yeah, that's pretty bad luck. And they even have, again, on sites, it's not just Money Puck either, but they'll have it organized in a chart so you can see here's the guy who right now might be lucky rather than playing really well, and the guy who's playing really well and has no luck. So that's the one place where I think it's kind of used as a predictor, where if you've got fantasy hockey, you can say, you know what, this guy's really driving the play. He's not getting opportunities. I can pick him up right now on, he's free in my fantasy league because people have dumped him. And then the other way around, you might have somebody and go, he's playing really well, but there's a lot of luck involved. You look at this advanced stat and it tells you he's kind of being lucky right now. I should keep an eye on this. And if I need to drop him, I need to be ready to do that because eventually that luck will normally run out. There's going to be goaltenders on this board who end up struggling at some point during the year. For Reimer, it's if he plays against Toronto, which he's done with for this year. But there's going to be goaltenders who see their number end up higher up and goaltenders who are high up who are going to see it drop. But I do think it's interesting because Quick, Shesterkin, Campbell, the guys at the top, there's a lot of hype from their fan bases around them. And there's good reason for it. So there you go. Just wanted to throw that out there. This is something that I use a lot. Just doesn't end up in videos quite often. And it's alarming on the one side. And then on the other side, it's like, wow, he's really having an awesome year. Which again is why if I say Jonathan Quick might be in line for a Vezina, that's what tells you right there. I don't know how many of the voters pay attention to it, though. I'd be interested to know how many of the players, the writers who do the voting at the end of the year on a lot of the awards, how much they pay attention to the advanced stats and how much they're just direct stats or eye test. And I understand two people will talk about the eye test. There's been the debate about whether or not I should watch all the games or if I should just use charts and just say, okay, this is how this should be. But I do prefer to use the eye test and read the charts. So I kind of do both as much as I possibly can. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Any and all praise for Jonathan Quick is welcome because last year was a miserable year for him. This year's been excellent. So there's that. But let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen upon this video. And hey, if you like cats or bunnies, this is the channel for you. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for all your support. And hey, thanks again through all these holidays and everything else. I will talk to you guys again soon.